We got Christian who hopped on. We got Manny who hopped on. Awesome. Christian, I'm hoping to hear from Christian. Christian, you just connected via audio. I said, I'm hoping to hear from you. I've seen you engage a lot in the last
Hey,
couple
what's
of
up, buddy?
weeks. What's up, dude? Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, I just happened. I had a meeting that ran a little late, a lunch meeting, so I'm kind of at a lunch thing. I don't know how this. It's the first time on this. I'm not sure how this thing works, but
Yeah.
how many people are on here? But I'm excited to kind of figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I've been seeing a lot of like I said, you engaging a lot with our stuff about HighLevel specifically. Have you been using HighLevel for a while? Is this something new for you?
Yeah, no. I'd say probably just about 2 years now. Like the first year I was in it, it was kind of like I didn't know all this other stuff that had existed. And me and a bunch of guys just kind of tried to figure it out on our own. And then when I found all you guys, I'm like, holy shit, I wish I'd have known all this many years ago.
Right.
But no, it's cool now. So we kind of, we had fun kind of trying to do it all ourselves. And now it's helpful to have, some resources out there to help us kind of make some changes and build things out better. So that's kind of what we've been doing, man. So it's been kind of cool. A buddy of mine, I don't know if he's on here or not. You can't see everybody, but I invite him to it. He actually kind of sells a version of his product now, which is doing pretty good with it. So I'm just trying to get it to make generate more business for myself mainly and my team. That's all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
so
yeah, man, it's cool.
What are some of the primary things that you're using it for right now? Is it primarily like borrower communication, or do you do a lot of marketing out of it?
Both, so Django or Salesforce is like my main kind of CRM, and there's a lot of limitations within there. So I've imported all my people into there from past clients and all that, and then so I've been kind of doing a lot more marketing through the system with them, a lot more automation. I just actually hooked up with these the Go HighLevel tools guys, and I bought that OpenAI thing. So I just hooked that up, and we're working on some of that integration, and we're kind of testing that out. Me and a couple buddies of mine.
Is that the chat version of it?
Yeah, the chat version of it. So if anyone is interested, I don't know how many people on how it works, but I can post it in a group. They gave me like a link. It's we all get kind of a discount on it or whatever if you use it. But it's like it's $2,000 for a lifetime, or it's $200 a month. So it makes sense to get their lifetime support forever. And they're pretty good guys from support standpoint. I use them for a lot of support stuff, and it comes up, and they've been pretty good about stuff like that. But I like what you put together, because it's obviously all about what I do every day, and I never had that kind of resource just around what we're doing. It's more general when everyone's selling something, and stuff like that. We had a group of guys that we would meet every Thursday and kind of just discuss the HighLevel and talk about, some of the back then. And when we started, there were campaigns and stuff, and
campaigns and triggers.
Yeah, what a pain in the ass that was. Holy shit. You had to do 5 things to make something work.
And it was still the best option on the market.
Yeah, it was. And I was like, oh, it drove me crazy, because I was like, oh, I forgot to do this. And if then that, and I was like, shit, and now I just can see it. You know what I mean? I'm a visual guy, so I like to just see it. I don't know if it was you guys or I saw somebody else that built out a workflow. So all of his workflows are like in one workflow instead of having multiple workflows, which I thought was really an idea, because you can just see every one of them all the time and all the action. You just have to go one place. So I like that idea. I may kind of, have somebody help me kind of put them all into one master workflow, I guess, right? Is that what you guys do? How do you guys do yours?
No, actually we are way more modular about it. We tend to actually lean the opposite direction, where we want to find workflows that represent a process flow that repeats multiple times, so that we can plug it in from this, this workflow over here. Now it goes over here. As opposed to having like repeat workflows for different use cases. But that one master workflow, I've seen a couple people do that. It's intimidating to me, to be honest with you. I've never considered doing it for any of our stuff. But I can see how somebody who's very visual would benefit from that.
It reminds me, like way back in the day, if anyone ever used it, like Infusionsoft, which I used, and that was a fucking pain in the ass program. But that's what it reminds me of, the workflow system they have.
I think my buddy Hammer is still on Infusion. You know Hammer? Do you know Hammer?
If you're still on it, then it's really probably the best marketing system ever built. But this system reminds me of that. But you had to be you had to really know what you were doing. You had to hire like a coder or something, to make it work, or else you're just like lost. 100%. But no, I don't think I know that person. But
Hammer J Helmer, he does like rate lock advice and has a marketing company, and
awesome.
The back end of everything as of 6 months to a year ago when we talked last was still Infusionsoft. But he has quite the freaking setup though. So
sweet, awesome. Well, so give me kind of high level of how this works. My first time on this kind of call, and of like what to expect and what you normally kind of talk about and do on these calls.
Yeah. So we've been running these for probably 2 months now, 6 weeks maybe.
Cool.
And so we're still early in that curve, in that adoption curve, where this is probably one of the more people that we've had on board or had on at one time. But typically, like, we just start out, we leave it open, and just like I asked you, everybody who jumps on, I'm asking, hey, are you here just to check stuff out, or do you have a specific problem, a specific question, a specific use case that you want to walk through? And that, to me, I mean, I'm open to running this a completely different way. I mean, this community is for loan officers, right? But for me, that has led to like, that opens up this can of worms, and then we kind of explore some things that are beneficial to this set of loan officers, and kind of go from there. So at this point, nobody yet has jumped in and said, hey, I'd like to explore this, I'd like to talk about this. So if you have anything like that that you do want to go through, I'm happy to jump in and start sharing my screen, and we can see what we can make happen.
Yeah, I wish I was in my office, because I do. One thing that I'm working on, and I think a buddy of mine figured it out. He's working with this VA that wrote him this code. But if anyone's in the mortgage business, the real estate business, if you haven't ever gotten to a TCPA complaint before, it really sucks.
TCPA,
yeah. So about maybe 2.5 years ago, it unfortunately happened to me. And it was like a past client that got a divorce, and when I used the cell number for the wife instead of the husband, it's got all messed up, and it just got really bad. And so it started out kind of horrible, because it started out with a class action lawsuit against me for like $5 million, right? And you're like freaking out about it. And
holy shit!
And so so it started out pretty big. They always do that, and the idea is they just want your database of people, and they want your opt-out process, and they want this. So what happened to me, which is unfortunate, is I had moved from one SMS magic to 360 SMS inside my Django, and not everything synced over properly, and this person opted out in their system and not in the new one. And literally, I only sent out like a Happy New Year and like a Thanksgiving thing. It was just not even salesy, but this attorney down in Miami kind of went crazy on me. Ended up settling for like 50 grand, but it was a learning experience for me. It sucked, and attorney's fees were like 25, and it was just sucked. But
so
anyway,
how did they make it a class action, if you don't mind me asking?
So because it's a federal offense, right? So they automatically go into the federal courts and file a class action lawsuit, because this is what they want. So when people opt out of your system, and this is one thing I'm going to talk about as we go through this, but I think I've figured out the code, and I built it in the Go HighLevel, which I think everyone on this call, I mean, how many people should have this built in. And I'll share it with everybody once I finalize it. But really what it is, they really want your database of people that have opted out of communication with you, because those are the people that, for whatever reason, they don't like you. Some people just don't want marketing. But their first step is they want your opt-out process, and they want to see it in writing and how you do it. And afterwards, I put together a whole TCPA compliance policy on my website that I attach now within my Go HighLevel funnels as a checkbox link. And so what happened was they want to get your database of people, which you know, as soon as you ever get notified of it, they go back in time, like, and if you ever went really down the road with them, they really want to settle. But if you ever went down the road with them to turn over documents to them and stuff, like what I did was wrong. Is I didn't realize this, but as soon as they sent me that notice, I went in and, you know, I freaked out. I went in and kind of deleted people out of my system and opted out.
Oh shit.
And they're like, well, you can't do that. That's against the law. And I was like, they're like, so now you're in trouble. If my attorney was like, it never got that far, but he's like, you know, if it came down to it, you know, because you can't do anything from the date you're notified, like they track everything. So I was like, shit. So anyway, make a long story short, they just really want your database of people, and they want to add them to the complaint, because that's obviously more money for them. They get like 60% of the settlement. You know what I mean? It's more of an attorney grab than a client grab.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they want you to turn over the database, and they actually will hammer your database trying to get people to come against you, which is just insane, you know, that they're able to do that. But that's what they wanted ultimately, which I never got to that point. So I just settled and said, you know, let's just finish this. So with that being said, I've always been on a journey, especially because I don't really do, you know, marketing out of my sales force, but within Go HighLevel, we built out our funnels to include a checkbox that they agree to the policy. And so what I wanted to see inside Go HighLevel, like, you know, when somebody opts in, you can see their course of action from they came in through this funnel, they logged in, and you can see the timestamps of everything. So I wanted to build a code that when they check the box and they opt in, that actually it's a timestamp that they've agreed to the policy, because if anytime that person ever try to file suit against you or something, all you have to do is send in that screenshot to show they opted in, and you're golden, right?
100%.
So I wanted it to be visual and not kind of behind the scenes. I wanted the people to understand what they're really opting into, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's about their interpretation of whatever that is, or their thought process by what am I really opting into, right? So I really want to be kind of obvious, and, you know, and if I lose people in that process, to me, I don't give a shit, because I'd rather lose a lead that's going to be a pain in my ass than get somebody to try to sue me, you know? Yeah. So I make it pretty obvious, and it'll save a lot of people. So what we're also doing with all my past clients over the years that I haven't had an official opt-in with them. So we built out a campaign to Go HighLevel. We do quarterly reviews with them. And so I'm in the process right now of building the code for the quarterly review process. And I send them out a form. They just update certain things in the form. Mainly, I live in Florida. If anyone else is in Florida on the call, our big problem right now is insurance. Insurance is a nightmare.
All right.
So we ask our clients what we're doing right now, because people are getting dropped left and right and getting forced place insurance. I had a client got his insurance went from $4,000 to $17,500. He had forced place insurance, got a cracked tile, and they're just dropping you, not telling you. So it's a nightmare. So I've used it as a way to reconnect with some of my clients and send them out a quarterly review form and have them send me back, if they, how old the roof is, if they have a 4-point, a wind mitt, their insurance policy, a mortgage statement, and an FP&L bill. Because if anyone else, mortgage guys, doing this, it's a great option. I teamed up with like a solar roofing company, and people that don't qualify for a second mortgage to get a new roof or a solar package, we have a second mortgage company that does a solar package for them, builds it all into one. I just closed the deal. It was like at a 4.99 rate. They paid out on a $150,000 deal. They paid out like $35,000 in commission. It was amazing.
Jesus.
Because and it's non-RESPA, so you can pay referral partners whatever you want. So all my insurance guys and my realtors, I tell them, you know, they give me a deal, $100,000, I'll give you $5,000 a deal because it's generating like 20, 25 grand. It's non-restful, so you can do whatever you want. So anyway, so in that process, so in the process, we're finalizing this form, and I'm going to use it to obviously update all of their information that I have, and then get them to re-opt into that policy because they're going to fill out that form. And now I'm going to have everybody compliant. And my database is really the secondary point of this, is to get everyone compliant. The first point is really to figure out if they're going to get dropped, or how I can help them with maybe a new roof or insurance or something like that. So we're building that process out, but through that, you know, the main reason was is this, once I get this kind of code together, we're trying to figure out the logistics of it. You know, I'll let you guys know, and I don't know what everyone else on here does with their funnels and whatnot, but it's one of the guys that's helping us work on it. He's a VA, and he's built out a lot of funnels and codes and stuff for us over the years. But so if anyone's interested, you know, let me know, maybe post something in the group, and I'll be more than happy to kind of share it with you when I get it all finalized, you know. So but so that's really what it is, man. That's like my biggest thing, my biggest task right now. So I don't know if you guys are in that market to, or, you know, have the ability to maybe do that, that type of thing. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
figure that out together.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I would tackle it right now. I mean, on my screen, I'm sharing my screen at this point.
This by chance?
I am recording it.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
Good. All right, because I'll go back and look. I'm not in the office.
So. Yeah, so I would go into custom fields, and I would just add a date time field. So you come in here, there should be a date picker. Additional preferences. The date picker, I'm not sure it allows. No, you probably just want to do a text box, or a single line, so that you can put the full date time stamp in there. Since it's not necessarily one that you're going to want to like sort by, or like collect reports on how many did you get this month, or that, like, that's not important. What's important is that you have the exact date and time that they consented, so that if you ever get audited or you ever get sued, you have this. And so in this case, I would just put,
it's automated by a checkbox, you think, or what?
Yeah, exactly. So TCPA consent, I would call it TCPA consent date. Okay. Group, I'll put this in additional info. Okay, so then I would go into whatever form I wanted to put this in. So we'll go to our form builder, and we'll add this in our 3 keys, converting leads via text. And I'm just going to add a new custom field that is a yes, a checkbox. So you can do that. Yeah, you can do this one of 2 ways. Now, in your case, you want them to physically check a box. Now,
I prefer that they actually do that action. We thought about it when they click submit, that it checks it for them, but then, you know, whenever it came down to it, I think that's too much automation to protect yourself, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that, I guess I would feel the same way you would if I had experienced what you have experienced. So a checkbox, the only thing that I don't know about the checkbox piece, and I'll address this here, and then I'll move on to like the back half of this automation. But the thing that I don't know about the checkbox piece is, can I bounce the submission back to them if they don't check this box, and say they have to check the box to submit? So that is the only question that I would have. I think it might be possible. I know that they have like failure options, maybe not in forms. Maybe it would have to be in surveys.
Required the checkbox, and won't let them submit without it.
Well, so a required field just means yes or no answer, right? A required field just means that field is answered. The way that HighLevel does their checkboxes as a field is, you can either check it or you cannot check it. Either one of those is an acceptable input.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, the question becomes, can we go into here? Here, let me use one
So
that
they say they can actually submit without checking it, is what you're saying.
exactly. And that's the piece that I would want to make sure we can't do.
Right.
So message URL. Yeah. So, okay. So if we look on our screen in surveys, you have the ability to create disqualification options, which would be the closest thing to this function that I would I think there is, where you could disqualify them because they haven't answered that question and then kick them back to the form and have them fill it out again. It's just kind of a clunky experience, but you definitely could do that. You just, like I said, there's a disqualify after submit here, or disqualify. Yeah, it would be disqualify after submit. You would put a URL and then, yeah, but you can't put a message and a URL. So you can't send them. Yeah, you would have to create like a separate page that was like, oops, you didn't check this box. Like,
Right.
I mean, you could go as far as you wanted to with this if it's, if that's the concern. That is, I think, the limit that you're going to run into as far as the front end of this goes. Now, if you were to say, all right, I'm okay with, if we go to an example, I mean, like our consent, basically, it's like on the last question of a form, they, when they're reading that question, they also, or once they answer that question, it immediately pops up or not pops up, but like populates the disclaimer in big text that says, hey, by clicking submit, you agree to this, 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 and this. And so, yeah, like I said, the disparity, the difference between those two, like what your risk appetite is for that. This is the limitation I see on the front end. On the back end, it would be fairly easy. If I go in here, and so you can either create a workflow that is based on that form submission, if you're using submission consent. So if you're doing it the way that I said, that, like I said, I understand why you wouldn't be interested based on your history, what you've seen, but you could do form submitted, filter, the form is this form, and then the question is true or whatever, right? And so they have to have consented to go through this workflow. But okay, if we do, once we trigger here, let me go back in here. Once we trigger this off of the form being submitted, the date stamp part is the one that I want to show you. So form is, let's say, it's the contact us form. And then we have this action where we say, okay, we know this form has this, we know this form has consent next to the submit button. So now we are going to update the contact. And we're going to update our TCPA consent date field. And we're going to put in here, there's this section right here that says right now. And I can just put in here, time, there's time, day of the week, date, day, month, year. So I'm guessing time would be right now time. And then this is going to show, and then this is going to update that field to timestamp it right now, basically.
Okay.
So like I said, the front end piece is the piece that you have to figure out based on what your desired experience is. But the back end piece is easy. As long as you can identify your form submission, then triggering the update step that timestamps, that part's super, super simple. So don't overthink that piece of it. But the front end is definitely something that
so
would
you
be
would
a little bit trickier.
recommend that if they didn't check it, that it's even though they submitted it sends them back again, back to the form?
I was just saying that based on HighLevel's native functionality, that seems like the closest that you can get without like coding, without like legit on-screen coding. I think you could accomplish this if you've got a dev. I think you could accomplish this, of course, with a dev on the front end.
Sure.
But based on HighLevel's native functionality, I think the closest that you're going to be able to get is if they don't check that box, that you kick them back to the form. But that, I don't think that's going to be a great experience.
No, yeah. I think this guy, I just invited my buddy Brad on the call, who he was working with this guy trying to build this thing out, this code to it. So I asked him to join us now to see if he pops on. But Let's see what he has to say if he gets on. But I don't know if he's
we got, oh, here he comes.
Brad. All right, cool. Ask him when he pops on, like show him kind of what you're doing.
Brad, if you can hear me, man, we're talking to Christian right now. He said he invited you. Christian said he invited you to help us tackle a challenge that you guys are working on together. So if you can hear me, feel free to unmute yourself and introduce yourself, man. We'll see what we can do.
Sorry, were you talking to me? Because I did have you. I had
you were still connecting. Yeah. Brad, my name is Michael. Christian and I were just talking about a situation, like an experience that he's trying to replicate. And I was talking about where I felt like HighLevel's native functionality limitations were going to be at, and he wanted to add you to a call to brainstorm and see if you had another idea, or if you, I don't know if you guys have already talked about this or what. But.
Yeah, he was working on it with a guy VA to code it, and we were just talking about it earlier. So I was just talking with this guy, Brad. He's the one with the that group that I told you about, and this is the first call I was on with him, and just this came up since we were already talking about it this morning. So I want to get his opinion on what he would have done, to set up that automation flow to get the TCPA box checked and then put time stamped on it. So
I mean, well, like I said, Christian, you had wanted my workflow, like what? So what I was saying is that I created a like I have a Word document that we created in Google Sheets that is our current TCPA compliance policy, which I pretty much just started exploring this. So I just had GPT write it. Like I'm gonna go back and like fine tune it. But like what's happening is that I have like on all my funnels, I have like a double opt-in. So like they when they hit submit, they have to check that TCPA compliance box as well. And what it's doing is there's that box they're checking, but it's also loading in the form. So I could share my screen so you could see.
Yeah. Let me stop. I'll stop sharing.
But like I was saying, the Christian, like he's got to talk to my guy that built it and get his own Google sheet because it's, and build that out.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
So
it's already done. Like if I go into,
but you can make it so that people have to check the box. He was saying natively they can go through the funnel without having to check the box because there's no.
I'm just doing like my whole thing is like I'd rather have sales than leads. So like if a guy doesn't want to check the box in Pound Sand, like obviously if they're not willing to check that double opt-in box themselves, like I don't want to have it automatically checked for them.
No, I don't want that.
You know what I mean? Like they have to check it. If they don't want to check it, then they're probably going to ghost my phone calls anyway, right? So
right.
So you just allow them to submit basically, even if they don't have that box checked, and then you implement the logic on the back end, or are they not allowed to submit?
Something like in writing stating that she
so like so this is like one of my funnels, right? So like if they go into this funnel and start going through it, they got to fill these fields out, obviously. But when we get to the end of it and hit next, like I got to put my phone number in here, but then I have to check this box.
So what if you don't check that box right there?
I got to check to see if I have this specific survey because I just added this. This might submit. Let me see. Yeah, no, it's not. So it is required. I thought
okay. So no, it is. So you can set up the form in such a way that box has to be checked.
So like what happens is now when I check this, right, it's going to submit the information. And now if I go to contacts, if I go to this contact, you could see that this form was submitted. Right.
Oh,
when
interesting.
I click on this, there's like the TCPA compliance agreement that they just and it plugged in like today's date, and it has has acknowledged by down here.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. All right. That's taking it a step further. Oh yeah.
Like
that's actually what you want, though.
I don't even know if like that's like required. I'm just trying to be super like cautious at this point because
well, so is Christian. So is Christian. So it sounds like you guys are in good company.
Yeah, you know the deal.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So the piece, so Christian, you were right basically about like that form functionality, the required. You can, when you make that field required, it looks like, and we'll go back and test this because they have a couple different checkbox options, but it looks like you can make it required so that if they don't check that box, they can't submit. And as long as that's the case, the timestamp thing that I showed you is one way to do it. And Brad, basically what I was doing is I was just putting a TCPA consent field and a TCPA consent workflow. And when the form is submitted, then we would timestamp the field, essentially, like put them in that workflow and timestamp that field for their most recent TCPA consent. That is obviously a step back from the degree that you've put this together, that document, that template and stuff. So yeah, that's cool. And you guys, did you build that portion of it out, or did you have somebody else build that for you?
I had my developer. Well, I mean, it was like my thinking behind it, and then I put the fields and all this shit together, but then he had to create like, I guess, the API and the code, and it's using a Google Sheet, but it's also not creating a new Google Sheet every time. It's just using that as the template so that I just go into that Google Sheet and update my TCPA compliance, and it's always going to, log in or record the most recent one, like whatever that was at the time.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Okay.
Brad, are you in LO?
Yeah.
Are you in our Facebook group?
I think
I invited you.
Yeah, I don't know. I get your emails. I get your emails too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm always signing up for shit. You actually commented on one of my posts in the HighLevel group because I was asking about, because I built a SaaS for real estate agents and one for loan officers. And I've been having that trouble where, like, you probably deal with the same shit, like where you're talking to people and then just do that, like to register their businesses for like the A2P. Yeah. Like a lot of people don't have that, and then they can't get it from their company. And that's been a kind of a pain in the ass. And I merged everything over to Lead Connector. Are you using Lead LC, or are you doing everything through Twilio? I'm doing everything through Twilio because from what I've seen, like they're like basically that's just adding another layer in between us and Twilio. It's like Lead Connector, like they're using Twilio right now still too, from last I heard. Like, so they're having to go through the same bullshit processes. I have one more layer of bureaucracy to navigate through if I have them do it at this point. You know what I mean? But what's your experience been? Have you seen an improvement at all? Look, here's the thing, like it is good because I don't have to, like, everything is set up right through them. Like I do like that part of it. And like, there's a trust center in there to like register the business and then set up like your shake and stir and all that shit. But like, I don't know, man, like I tried to register, like I haven't even set anyone up for the A2P 10-digit long code, like even my personal business, because I submitted my campaigns through this shit. It took like 2 months and then it got rejected and I can't even get an answer why it got rejected. So like, I'm happy to talk offline with you about that stuff too. I mean, we're navigating. We were just having a conversation this morning. I mean, right now we have basically a two-pronged approach. From what we've seen, it's only T-Mobile numbers that are filtering. Like from what we've seen, it's only T-Mobile. We go back, we check the carriers. Lindsay this morning told me he thought there was another that he saw another carrier, another message get blocked from another carrier, but I haven't seen that yet. And it's until Metro PCS, because oh, gotcha. I haven't noticed the text yet, but we do, my my is trained, where when we're getting leads, the system is doing the automations and stuff like that. But and I tell loan officers this all the time, you guys are reaching, you'll do everything to get leads, right? You'll kiss realtors' butts, you'll do all this stuff, you'll take them out to lunch, you'll beg them for business and everything like that. But then you set up a workflow where you're generating your own leads and you don't want to pick up the phone. You expect everything to be automated. So we were getting a 10% lead to application rate. So that's good, which I think is every 10 leads, we're getting an application on a full social credit run, all that. Yeah, that's good. We were getting those numbers because my loan partner, I have a system where he's loading everyone that's in the opt-in stage in the open status into the dialer every day. And it's basically like I have a stale opportunity workflow where if they're in that opt-in stage for longer than 30 days, it automatically marks them as abandoned. And now that's creating like my reactivation list that we, mark it to every 30 days. But he's just focused on every day loading the opt-ins in the open stage into the dialer. And the only people that are going to be on that list is anything that's like within 30 days or that hasn't been contacted. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
and you can take it a step further depending on how much, like I saw your funnel. I mean, if that's your funnel on every lead, if that's your lead form on every funnel that you have, then you're collecting a lot of data. We've been doing this for 5-6 years, generating leads on Google for loan officers. And we have a database of all, 600,000 leads or whatever we've ever generated with all the form fields. And then a lot of those, I would say we probably only can track 60 to 70% of the closings that we get realistically, because we get a lot of people that'll drop out in the first couple months and then will tell us later, oh, hey, yeah, we closed a couple deals from this. And, we get repeat business and stuff. I would say we only track 60, 70% of the closed deals through the system tops, but that 60, 70% and the volume that we've been able to do allows us to go back and look at the lead form questions and say, holy shit, like if they answer less than 580 credit score, odds are if they have less than 580 credit score, they're taking up 18 to 25% of our clients' applications. And yet less than 1% of those leads have ever, less than half of 1% of these leads have ever closed, or less than 1% of our, that's the better representation of this. Less than 1% of our overall closings that we've tracked through the system ever have been in that category, despite the fact that they make up 20% of the applications that our clients take. So like being able to apply that level of logic to when you get, you start implementing dialing and stuff. Okay, well, if they answer less than 580 credit score, and I know these are likely to be on the wrong side of the 80-20 rule, now I can keep those from have another low probability campaign that's only text messages or whatever.
I got you. So and then you can also, I guess, implement a process where it's disqualifying them at the time of completing that field, right? Are you doing that or no?
No, I'll let them fill out the field. I'll let them fill out the form they would want the way they want to. And then we create all the filters and the workflows on the back end.
Gotcha.
So it's like, form field submitted. Great. Credit score less than 580, go down this path. Credit score, up to 700, do this path. If it's over 700, do this path. And we'll set up those paths based on like the likelihood of conversion. We also have clients that go across state lines. And so we'll find that their approach works really well in one state, but then it doesn't work really well in another state. And they've got to alter that approach a little bit. And being able to segment, being able to have all the leads fill out the same form and then segment on the back end based on that data has served really valuable for us.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you know what? I haven't even, and I have it pretty well built. I was just one of those things where it's like automated for me, right? Because I'm not making calls, but now with the cost of credit reports too, like it's like you get those under 580 and you don't even want to do anything. But I say that we did just get 2, or I think 1 or maybe 2. Like we just approved somebody at a 560 credit score. He didn't find a house yet, but we ran it through underwriting and we got the TBD approval from underwriting. So now we sent him out, to start looking.
Well, that's the interesting thing about form fields though. Like that's the really interesting thing about forms and segmenting data based on not based on a hunch, not based on, oh, I don't want to work with people that are less than a 580 credit score, but based on historical data of okay, yeah, we work with a lot of brokers that can do a lot of loans below 580. We work with a lot of loan officers that are like, hell no, I don't want to filter those out. I want to work with everybody. But the data shows that doesn't work. The data shows that it's a waste of time, proportionately speaking, and the other piece of it too, is that these leads are typically what we call low hanging fruit. they're typically the ones that are most likely to engage with you. They're typically the ones that are most likely to respond to your first text message, which clogs up your attention and makes it so that you don't dig 2 or 3 layers deeper with the leads that are actually going to be worth your time, energy, and attention. And so that's another piece of the value prop that we've seen behind filtering those out. Is it's like, no, I get it. Like the psychology says, don't let this fucking lead go. But that's why we look at the data, so that we can have that tell us, hey, our psychology is wrong in this case. Let's be smarter about this.
Yeah. That makes sense, man. I agree.
But obviously that's going to depend on traffic source too, right? If you've been running all of your ads on Facebook versus Google, then you could have the exact same form that we have, and we could look back after a year of data and see that, oh shit, those spreads are different. Like, the high credit scores convert better on Facebook than they do on Google, or vice versa. And so you got to be careful about how you look into that data, obviously. But man, what do you do? Like, what do you do for lead gen for like these funnels that you built out and stuff?
Well, I was doing Facebook. Now I'm running Google, because Facebook, I don't know. I created like a Facebook group, and I had an automation that was like, if I approved somebody, it was automatically like, adding them to a Google sheet, sending them a welcome message, adding them to like the welcome message like sending them a welcome DM, but also adding them to the welcome group message.
Post,
right?
Yeah.
I think Facebook like picked up on, there was either that, or like I started running an ad campaign, and I just wanted to like get it out there and let it like learn really quick. So I was spending like $100 a day on it. So one of those two things I think made my account look suspicious. And my user on Facebook is Brad Brunt. My ID says Bradley Brunt. So like I uploaded the ID like kind of hastily, not realizing that it's all AI looking at. So they permanently restricted my business manager, which had like 2 ad managers in there and like 10 pages within those 2. So like everything is shut down. So like right now, I'm like, screw you guys. And I just started running Google ads 30 days, like first time ever. And I don't know what to expect. I mean, I'm getting long form leads. Well, not long form leads, because I created like my initial ad, driving them to my website, and then I have like 4 like site links under that ad for like VA, whatever. I'm getting leads at like $18 a piece. I'm not sure like where I should be at for Google. It's a lot higher than what I'm used to on Facebook, but we're getting leads and a few applications. So I'm just getting my feet wet with the Google thing.
Yeah. I mean, just like with Facebook, the key is the conversion data, being able to feed that back to Google as quickly as possible. So are you doing that within HighLevel right now? Like, how are you doing a Zap to send the conversion data back to Google? How are you tracking conversions in Google right now?
Well, I have a tag manager, so I assume I have everything set up on my tag. Like I have my Google tags in there for ads, Facebook, LinkedIn.
So that'll track. So I go back after this call and just double check that all of your conversions are tracking inside of Google ads. As long as those numbers are if you've been doing this for 30 days, if those numbers are the same, then you're good. But from my experience, the pixel, the tag, they have a hard time tracking on Apple devices. Apple's been like implementing ITP version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 over the years. ITP stands for Intelligent Tracking Prevention. And they basically like their goal is to block third-party tracking, and third-party tracking is me consenting to Google having their pixel on my website so that Google can track people on my website. That's a third-party cookie, and Apple says no. So the solution to that is collecting what's called the GCLID, the click identifier.
Yeah.
Collecting that off of the form. HighLevel automatically logs that for you in every submission that you get. So it's just a matter of setting up the action either in Zapier or in HighLevel on the back end to send the conversion back to Google. And then that'll, as long as if you're set up to where each conversion only counts as one anyways, then I would say it's worth it to have that redundancy in place just in case, just because we've had, curveballs thrown at us where all of a sudden we're not tracking 20% of our conversions. And it's like, fuck, dude, like, when you're talking about a decent amount of ad spend, that's Google literally like, now they're optimizing for the wrong data, like that's the worst possible thing you could have happening.
Yeah. So Do you still have the tag and tag manager as well? Like, it's not going to like double count it, right? Because of the tag and because of what GHL is doing.
Correct. It's all based on how you have the conversion set up in Google. So if you have the conversion set up in Google to only count one, which is how you should for a lead form submission, then yeah, the redundancy will not hurt you. Because that click identifier is only associated with one click, one time ever. So if they receive 4 different conversions from this click identifier, they know it's just one. It's just one conversion. And so I would still keep the tag in there, and we do. And the reason why is because I don't know, it's kind of like tin hat-ish. It's kind of like conspiracy theory kind of thing. Like, I just look at it and I'm like, okay, if I'm Google, even if I don't admit this out loud, if I'm Google and all else is equal and I can send traffic to this landing page that doesn't have my tag, or I can send landing page to this, or send traffic to this landing page that does have my tag and does allow me to collect that data, which one am I choosing? I mean, I'm obviously choosing the one with the tag. So I apply that logic and I'll throw the tag on there anyways. But we haven't been able to reliably use the tag to track conversion data for like 2 years.
Yeah, like I said, I know that like Facebook had trouble with the whole iOS 14 thing that came out. And this is like, I'm like swimming right now in kind of like uncharted waters, right? Like I never really, I mean, I'm like Christian, most of our business comes from referral anyway, but like I know my way around the whole marketing thing and to be able to set up my own ads and shit, but like I don't.
$18 a lead starting out, man. That's not bad at all. We're shooting for like 20 to 22% conversion rate on the landing page. So our cost per lead is going to be determined primarily by the cost per click of the market that we're in. Because we know that our landing pages convert with the keyword set that we have at like 20 to 22%. So that's the benchmark that I would set for you, is if you see your conversion rate is 8% or 10%, start split testing that landing page and getting your conversion rate up.
So mine is, I can tell you right now where it's at.
And Michael, when you're running your ads on Google, are you like, from a placement standpoint, I've always liked over the years is running my ads in the map section, and I get a more highly more qualified lead, because people, I rank in my area pretty good for different things. So sometimes I'm in there with an ad in and organically, and maybe find from not, just depending on what's going on. And I find those that come through that from a Google ad perspective convert the best. And I've run all kinds. I've spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars on Google ads over the years. And, I've kind of just reverted back to that, because we were getting, we were at, $80 to $100 a lead and it was out of control. So, so we kind of went back to just running and, an ad in the kind of the map section and stuff. But I'm going to have to check and see what you're talking about, the Google click identifier.
So this placement is just search. Like, it just search. So I don't include Google search partners as like the only configuration change that you can make in there. I don't include Google search partners. It's like if somebody's using Ask Jeeves or some shit still, I'm probably not a lead I want, honestly. So I'm like, Google has 85% market share in the search engine world. That's okay with me. And they're just 100% search ads. I don't know, like when you say maps, I picture like Google My Business listings almost, and being able to promote your listing as one of those. That's 110%. Those are going to be the best quality ads that you can run for sure. They're way more expensive, but the highest level.
We're running those right now, mainly. And like I said, we're we're actually, it's cheaper than I was running on the search. I don't know, but it just seems to be working out a little bit better. We have a pretty good presence, so it helps, I guess, but
and on the search side, there's a lot of ways to drive your costs up on the search side, especially like since, this game has changed so much, even in the 5-6 years that I've been doing it. I mean, 10 years ago, I know it was completely different than that. But like when I first started, Google, like you didn't trust Google's algorithms for fucking anything. Like everything was manual, like this, you know, like, whereas now, and we took a long, you know, it took us a long time before we started feeding that data back to Google and saying, oh, wow, like if we optimize for this, they actually know what they're doing now. Whereas it used to be every time you wanted to optimize a campaign, they just said bid more and spend more. Right.
It kind of screwed up your whole ad, you know,
every fucking time.
You're like, shit.
Yeah.
But a lot of work we have to do too is those negative keywords. We have to go in there. We go in there. It's almost a daily thing. And
yeah. If you're using that broad match category, that's how you're going to get the cheapest, like the lowest cost per lead, but you also have to actively manage the negative keywords.
Yeah, from it. But yeah, that's cool. I'll have to check this out, what you just said about this.
Yeah, we got, hey, Ari, will you do me a favor? Will you send Christian and Brad? A, let's make sure Brad's in the Facebook group. And then B, let's send Christian and Brad both our 3-step guide for Google ads. So I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but it's, you know, I think especially Brad, for you, it might be, some of the stuff might be elementary, but I think there's going to be a couple like things that we included in there that you maybe didn't think about that could be valuable for you. It's like 15, 16 pages on how to set this up front to back. It includes some landing page stuff that you can ignore, but I go into like Google ad account configuration. So check that section out. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts or questions.
Yeah, I would love to see, like I said, man, like I went on, like I got that whole Facebook ban, like account, and I didn't feel like, cause you got to like put a new business, get it like a new credit card and stuff like that. And I have one right now that I'm using for my mortgage business. So like, I just didn't even want to get into that. So like,
yeah,
also I'm kind of like butthurt over. I'm like, you know,
100%,
Facebook
100%, dude.
Like, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go for Google, and I just like I just went in there and started clicking buttons and just launched the ad. Like I didn't really do a lot of research on it, and you know,
that's how my journey started 6 years ago with this shit. Is the exact same way. It was like, I mean, Quicken does it. There's got to be a way. Like that was kind of my logic, right?
Yeah.
So cool. I hope to see you on these calls more, man. This is awesome, and feel free to, like I said, reach out with any feedback about the 3-step guide, any questions or anything that you have that come up. Let's, you know, see if we can partner on something, see if we can work together on something.
Cool,
That's
man.
it.
All right, guys.
Cool.
Well,
awesome. All right, we're gonna shut this thing down. I really appreciate your guys' time, though. Thanks for hopping on, and you know, I hope I see both of you guys next week.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Likewise.
You too, Manny. Thanks for hopping on, bro. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right, see you.